Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Today we talk briefly about multiplication with patterns, multiplying by powers of 10. So you don't need your computers open right now. You don't need to be writing anything. I'm just going to work this out and you can watch as I go through it. And then if you need to go back and look at it another time, it will be found on it will be found on the tube of you so that you can look at it later. Yes, sir.
I just did all those equations in my head.
Nice. And that's kind of why we're showing this, because it really makes it easier when you're multiplying by powers of 10, whether they're greater than 1 or equal to 1, or whether they're less than 1, powers of 10, because 10 times 10 is 100, 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. 1/10 times 1/10 is 100. 1/10 times 1/10 times 1/10 is 1,000. That's why they're powers of 10. You'll see them in future grades written with exponents, but we don't need to worry about that now. Now, obviously, we have 28 hundredths multiplied by 1, which equals 28 hundredths, or just 0.28, however you want to do it. Then we have 28 hundredths times 10, which is going to equal what?
2.8 tenths.
2.8, or 2 8/10. Good. And when you've done in the past, let's show what you've done in the past. You have, if I gave you the problem 37 times 10, all you've done is moved a 0 up, right? And you'd say it's 370. It's not really, that's what you did when you multiplied by a whole number, but that's not really what you actually did. Technically, what you did, because the number 37 has a decimal point, technically what you did is you moved that decimal point one place to the right, and that is how you got 370. Because when you multiply by 10, you're moving the decimal point. We're making each place value 10 times greater than it is. 7 was in the ones, now the 7 is in the tens, so that's 10 times greater than it was, because 70 is 10 times greater than 7. Brindley?
Also, the 2 is the tenths and the 8 is 100. And you moved it's a times 10, so you put it behind what the number value is.
Good. We have 28 hundredths multiplied by 100. So now I need to make this 2 100 times greater than it is right now. And to do that, I move my decimal point 2 places to the right, because now it's like 2 dimes. But to make it 100 times greater, I need to make it 2 tens. So like $20 is 100 times greater than 20 cents. Is basically what it is. Because we have the 2 zeros, because we're multiplying by 100, we move that decimal point 2 places to the right. Easy peasy, raw chicken squeezy. Can you guess how many places we move it here? 3. But wait a minute. We have only 2 places. We only have 2 places. So how would we do that? Yes, sir.
Since you're going to be moving the decimal back one, you have to have a number to fill that space, so all I have to do is put in a 0 there.
All I have to do is put in a 0 there. And remember, I've told you many times that every whole number, even if you don't see it, there's a decimal point behind the ones place. Always a decimal point behind the ones place. Well, let's take 364 times 1 is obviously. Whew. I was worried we were going to have to all the way back to the beginning. Now, if I'm multiplying, this is less than 1, correct?
Yes.
Well, if I'm multiplying by 1, it stays the same. If I'm multiplying by greater than 1, my number gets bigger than what it was. So obviously, if I'm multiplying by less than 1, my number is going to get smaller. And since we have a tenth, we want to make each one of these numbers a tenth of what they were before. And remember, in our place values, as we go to the right, each place value is 10 times greater than the one to the left of it. So as we go to the right, we get, okay, so as we go to the right, here, as we go to the left, each place value is 10 times greater. So 6 in the ones place, if the 6 were in the tens place, it's 10 times greater. The opposite is when we're multiplying by a power of 10 that is less than 1. Now we're making them 10 times smaller. So a 6 in the ones place, making it a 6 in the tenths place. The tenths place is 10 times, or 1/10 of, I'm having trouble with my words, is 1/10 of the ones place. So then we're doing the opposite. There is a decimal point in the number 346, because it's always behind the ones place. We move it to the left, and we get 34 6/10. We move it to the left twice, and we get 3 46/100. We move it to the left 3 times. We get 346 thousandths. It's just a matter of moving your decimal point, because you're making it either 10 times bigger or 10 times smaller for each place value. Hundredths. So we made it 100th times smaller. That is 10 times smaller. That's 100 times smaller. Thousandths. We need to make it 1,000 times smaller. That's 10 times smaller, 100 times smaller, 1,000 times smaller. Or 1,000. Yes, sir.
Or you could just think of it as a division question on the second one.
Yep. Because multiplying by a decimal, or multiplying by a decimal is the same thing as if I divided 346 by 100, I'm going to get 3 46/100. Okay, so it's similar. So honestly, well, I'm not even going to say that. That'd be cray to say that. I don't want to say that. That'd be difficult to explain for me, and difficult to understand for you, because it would be difficult to explain for me, so I would probably use crazy vocabulary. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Boom, shakalaka, peace out. God bless, love you, do something kind today. Save the bees, please.